You saw him on the field, and now you're seeing him before the game. We're talking with Michigan legend Jake Butt. Jake, talk to us about the difference from your perspective on the media days on this end of the podium as before when you were a player.
The biggest difference is with the implementation of the NIL, these guys are wearing a lot nicer suits than what I was wearing back in the day. I had like a team-issued pair of slacks and a standard blue jacket. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. has a Rolex custom suit, Louis Vuitton. He looks great, but that's the number one thing that stands out. But it's still the rhythm, it's still the structure. It's just different for me, whereas when I was a player, all I had to talk about was what I knew and my team. Whereas now as an analyst, I have to cover the entire conference and be familiar with the storylines.
What has the transition for you been like from player to broadcaster?
It's, there's transitions in life. So, I'm 28 now. I've experienced different transitions from high school to college to the NFL, now NFL to broadcasting. There's always that initial first year where you deal with some imposter syndrome. You're making mistakes that you shouldn't make. But now going into year two, I have that experience under my belt. I can now perform with much more confidence. I know what preparation looks like, and at this point, we're just having fun out there.
Does your time learning the game, analyzing the game, and performing on the field of the game of football at all transfer over to learning how to be a broadcaster?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the structure of my week is very similar. I call games on Saturday, so I'm still watching tape the same as I would as a player. We still have meetings where we're going over storylines. We're preparing for our live shows. So all that's the structure of it's very similar. It's as a player, there's a physical side that's the big challenge, whereas a broadcaster, it's the mental side that's a big challenge. But I point out the challenge to say that they're equally rewarding, right? When there's a challenge and you go out there and execute and you lean on your preparation, there's a reward at the end of it.
Was it difficult for you when you first started broadcasting to put your football history aside and put your rooting interests aside for Michigan?
I mean, listen, that was part of an adjustment and a point of emphasis I had to make last year. But I'm paid to do a job, right? Like, I'm paid to analyze the game in an unbiased light. It just so happens that Michigan has had success too, so I can talk about how great they are and say that that's unbiased, but I can also sit here and give compliments, as I have, to Ohio State, to Michigan State, to Penn State, to a number of teams in the West. And just as long as I'm being truthful and as long as the opinions I have are backed by data and conscious thought, I'm okay, and I think fans can appreciate that.
From your point of view, how has Jim Harbaugh taken the program over, and how has he been doing so far?
Well, the first 2 years, my junior and senior year, 2015, 2016, it was a different time in the program than where it is now. We had struggled. We were 7-6, 5-7 before Brady Hoke left. So Jim had to come in and really test us. He had to find out who actually wanted to be there and be a part of the winning formula. Whereas these last 2 years, you're back-to-back Big Ten champions, back-to-back wins over your rivals, back-to-back college football playoff berths. Now that's their identity, not just within the city of Ann Arbor and the program. Now that's their national identity. People are aware of what this team can be and will be this year.
From your point of view, when you played to now, does it surprise you how much the landscape of college football has changed with the portal, with NIL, in only what has been 8 years for you?
I wouldn't say surprise, because I was a big advocate for NIL when I was playing. I also knew you start with a 4-team playoff. That was clear that it had its benefits, but it also had its issues. So I figured that they would expand at some point, and maybe we even see further expansion. The one constant is change, right? So if you are surprised by change, you're going to be behind the 8 ball. With all the change that's already happened, I expect more change to happen in the future.
Winding things down, walk us through your excitement to cover another season of college football.
Just getting back in the booth. I mean, it's such a fun experience up there. To just observe the game of football and get the chance to speak from my heart on what I'm seeing and have fun with my play-by-play and my sideline and my producers and have a great call that I know the fans appreciate. They see I'm prepared. They know I'm calling the game in the right way, calling their proper storylines of the teams with the right pronunciations, all that good stuff. It's part of what makes football great. It's the community. So just another season to talk about football, which is what I've been doing for free my whole life. Now I just do it kind of in a suit and get to hang out with you guys.
Jake, appreciate you for your time. Best of luck this season.